Well, good afternoon. Welcome to this celebration of life for Joanne Van Sant. I am Becky Smith, and so pleased that you have joined us today. It does seem fitting and definitely Dean Van's style for her to march upward and onward right behind the Otterbein class of 2012, and for us to remember her today on New Student Orientation Day. As we begin today's celebration, I want to provide the backdrop for this program. About 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to ask Dean Van how she envisioned her memorial service. And Michael Maxwell and I listened in awe as she set the stage for her final performance. With directness and intent, she shared her desires of the location, the singers, the speakers, her favorite musical songs, right down to the ending quote from King George VI. And yes, she wanted it to be in a celebratory setting, just like her 40th year celebration in 1989. Van also stated that she wanted an oak tree planted on the northeast corner of Roush Hall, where she would tie her Cocker Spaniel, Kai, and watch him from her second floor office window of the Soch building. The oak tree stands tall and brilliant across the street by Dr. Day's tree. So this is so like Van, taking care of us even after the curtain has closed, directing us with compassion, intention, and meaning. People come into our life for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. We gather today to celebrate the life of Joanne Van Sant, Dean Van to many, who came into our lives, to Otterbein's life, for a lifetime, 64 years. Yet there is something I have uncovered the past 3 weeks, which I'd want you to know. We were not only blessed in our lives, we blessed hers. I found proof in the thousands upon thousands of the cards that I found in her home. Dean Van kept every card, every photo, every Christmas card, every letter, every family communication that you sent her. Every one of them. This morning I found one dated 1940. You mattered to her. You were her Otterbein family. She could not part with those cards and photos because of the relationship you had with her was so extremely meaningful to her. You came into her life as much as she came into your life for a lifetime. Your presence here today, or your viewing online, is a testimony to how much she touched, changed, impacted, imprinted your life. Today, we remember Dean Van as she scripted, through the stories, through the music, and the celebration. Let's raise the curtain. Let's begin the finale with one of Dean Van's favorite versions of the Otterbein love song, sung by Dee Hotie. Yet please remain seated for Dee's solo performance while you soak in the words, the voice, and the memory of the one we love so true.
'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn, turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right. In a quiet, peaceful village, there is one we love so true. She ever gives a welcome to her friends, both old and new. She stands serene near treetops green. She is our dear Otterbein. Old Otterbein, our college, we sing of thee today. Our memories around thee linger in a sweet and mystic way. Oh, Otterbein, we love thee. Our hearts are only thine. We pledge on you we will be true, dear Otterbein.
This afternoon, we gather in memory and in celebration of a grand lady of Otterbein. Her name was Joanne Van Sant, but for those who knew her, for members of this community, she was simply Dean Van. Becky asked that I say something about the purpose of the service before going into the invocation, and so this is what I have to say. She was, to be blunt and honest, and she could be, a grand lady. Among the personalities associated with this school, she is and will be legend. A legend because her life was one of dedicated, faithful, committed service on a level that few persons achieve. She was a force for good. There was a certain style or bearing about her. People were attracted to her, found her easy to speak with, to confide in. She became their counselor. She was confident, but never overly or foolishly confident. And she could be bold when she knew she had the right on her side. She was highly skilled in her responsibilities, but most of all, she was supremely committed, doggedly committed in her purpose, and that purpose was centered around the well-being, the welfare, the growth, and the development of our students. She touched, guided, counseled, taught, mentored, and cared for many, many lives. And I know for a fact that she saved some lives. Today, then, we celebrate, give thanks, and remember the rich, full life that was Dean Van's. Now, Dean Van was pretty stoic, and so she probably wouldn't want me to go where I'm going to go, but I'm going to say it anyway. As a clergyman, as a pastor, I also want to be sensitive to Dean Van's family members and her friends, her caregivers, and to recognize that while we do celebrate today, that there is also a sense of grief, there's also a sense of loss. To these friends, dear friends and family, please know that there are those here who have also passed through that long night with a loved one. We empathize with you because we know what it is like to go into the twilight state that seemingly goes on and finally comes to an end, and we stumble out to stand blinking once more in the sunlight, amazed in how the world still turns. The time continues on. May you be comforted by this day. May you begin to heal on this day. You see, it is our way to gather together as Otterbein, as a unique community, Van called us, to comfort and support, to remember and reminisce, to tell the stories and hear the songs, and yes, shed a tear, but to hear laughter once again too. Because it is our way to begin to heal and recover, to know that while we have passed through the fullness of life, which also encompasses the mystery of death, that we begin to heal in our souls as we recall a life well lived and are able to affirm once again much goodness in living and in the hope and the promise for the life that is to come and which Dean Van enjoys now. As we gather this day, may the Spirit of God work in and through members of this body. And in the words of the prophet, comfort ye, my people. Would you join me in an attitude of prayer and meditation? Eternal God, source of all life, we gather this afternoon in this great hall to celebrate and to remember, to give thanks and express gratitude for the life and work of a woman who sought to make this community what it is, and why so many have stayed, lingered, and remained connected to it. We recall Dean Van's life and its meaning. We gather in care and compassion for one another. We give thanks for the gift of Dean Van, for all that she was to those who loved her, to those who served with her, and for everything in her life which reflected your grace. Now through this gathering, through our prayers and meditation, through reflection and song, speak to us once more your word of hope. Fill us with faithfulness and embrace us in your love. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Good afternoon. In his newest work, Oh Beautiful, playwright and Otterbein alum Carter Lewis includes a speech given by a young man at his college graduation. Now, Carter and I have collaborated on a number of projects throughout our careers, and he is unfortunately unable to be here for this celebration of our dear Dean Van. So to honor her, we have tweaked the young man's monologue to bring you a poetic imagining of Van at her graduation, giving her commencement speech. I loved college, being here. The simple stone walls of my university, old as the tottering cliffs of time, lofty, sand-tinged, castle-like turrets, providing separation from the bullets and bulletins of the world, waging and raging around us. It's a small, small life where brilliance shines down and thought bounces up, encouraging us to scale these walls and live wisely enough to be hopeful and hopeful enough to be wise. Oh, alma mater, hear my song. I'll dream of thee my whole life long. And now in our journey comes the lofty gift of surviving and giving. Each here hopeful face is in the race to find love and honor. And those who honor love will find peace unburdened And those who love honor, well, will lead us on a quest unimaginable. We are the world. What is the world now is not what the world will be. What was the world then is not what the world is. We are not now waiting for the world. We are not now hoping the world will come. The world has arrived. And what was the world will move over to make room for what is the world, and the world is now. The world is us. Hello, world. Hello, man. As a child, for waking's sake, I stayed awake at night to align myself with stars and lightning bugs in jars. Oh, twinkle, twinkle, little jar, can you look beyond the stars far enough for me to see what is to become of me? I am no longer that child in the night, full of wonder, afraid of thunder, but I am a woman now who I know I can see the future beyond the now and see how I can twinkle my life to be through the help of he and she and thee and ye. And oh, what is to become of me? And in the twinkling skies of tomorrow, can I see myself as an old woman, lying, dying, trying to love the finality of living? And can I see a younger woman, an echo of Van, holding jars of stars and rhyming words of wonder, speaking forth and out about what she can do and will do through ye and she and thee and he? And when at night she and he comes to me, who is that old woman, lying and dying and trying to listen to the young prophets' prophecies when they ask me, Van, what will become of me? I will know what has become of me because of what has become of them. And if I have not put stars in the skies of the generations to come, then I will know that I was not the world. I will know that I went forth from these sand-tinged, castle-like turrets, and I slit the throats of trees and tortured the bodies of oceans. I will know that I have turned music to shattered glass, words to numbers, and thought to product. I will know that I betrayed and strayed from you who say, hello, Van. So, it is now that I need to worry about then. It is today that myself needs to heed what my tomorrow will be. For tomorrow will be my first temptation, and the next day will be too far from today for me to remember, and the next day will be my excuse, and the next day will be oh so tiring, and the following day will be a lie. So, she and he and thee and ye, as your day follows day and night falls away, hold on to yourselves so we can still love ourselves when our children's stars are in jars and we are only distant twinkles in the lonely night sky. I loved college. The simple stone walls of my university, old as the tottering cliffs of time. Oh, alma mater, hear my song. I'll dream of thee my whole life long. I will see you in tomorrow's stars. I will see you in the midnight sky. Say, hello, Van, and I will be there for you. Say, oh, Van, do you remember? And I will say, yes, like yesterday. It was September, I remember. And I will say, what we did was so fabulous and thunderous and just downright wondrous and Those were the times. This I promise. This I promise. This I promise. I will weep with you and exult with you for what you have always given me, and for the yourselves that ourselves have remained, and for what we have been to each other and will forever be for each other. For you are all my world, and I will love you all always as the myself that I promise I will cherish forever as I continue to become. Hello, world.
As a family, we were very lucky and privileged to have Joanne Van Sant share a portion of her busy life with us. We went on many summer vacations, and she and Marilyn played many, many board games at our house at Christmas and Thanksgiving. One year at the Outer Banks in North Carolina, Hurricane Charlie forced us to flee the mainland, and we actually had fun in the process. One time, when we were at Fort Walton Beach, Florida, Van decided that we should attend a local bingo event. There were 8 of us: Van, Marilyn, Mrs. Van Sant, and the 5 of us. Well, in the true Joanne Van Sant gambling tradition, we all started winning until, as Mrs. Van put it, it began to get embarrassing. Marilyn said the locals were happy to see us arrive, but they were very happy to see us leave. We considered Van a member of our family, but her family was Otterbein students. Her love of Otterbein was immeasurable. She was truly amazing how she could remember names and recall events. If you mentioned a student's name, she would say, "Oh, what a wonderful person," and literally give you that person's biography. I concluded a long time ago that only the wonderful people attend Otterbein. Now, there is no doubt that Van holds the Guinness World Record in handwritten notes and letters. How could it be that her thank you notes arrived the very next day? And her Christmas card list would rival that of any politician, but her cards, of course, were all handwritten. These past 2 years, your notes, flowers, phone calls, stuffed animals, pictures, all meant so much to her. And I want to assure you that she kept every one of them. Her one-day mail delivery amounted to 1 week delivery at most homes. Michael Maxwell was her mail sorter extraordinaire. I can't imagine what she would have done without him. Van was born an executive. Whether she was teaching a dance routine, escorting a group to London, or confidentially counseling someone out of a jam, she always went the extra mile. One of the last letters read to her from a student said, and I quote, "You never said I'm too busy." Van needed much care this past year. She was very fortunate to have the great team of Gus and Betty Van Sant. They headed up a crew of angels. And I mean angels. Thank you, Olivia, Patience, Teresa, Priscilla, Faith, And many, many thank yous to the head angel, Juanita Boding. Van's remarkable legacy will live on in the hearts of all her students, friends, and family. She lived her life to the fullest. She gave all she had, and she did it her way.
We're back. What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling. I would swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love.
Someday, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living. We'll find a way of forgiving. Somewhere. There's a place for us, somewhere, a place for us, peace and quiet and open air, wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us, a day and time for us, time to travel and time to care, time to learn, time to share. Someday, somewhere, we'll find a new way of living. We'll find a way of forgiving somewhere. There's a place for us. Hold my hand and I'll take you there somehow, someday, somewhere.
to an end. I know a star has come out to tell me it's time to go. But deep in the dark green shadows are voices that urge me to stay. So I pause and I wait and I listen for one more sound, for one more lovely thing that the hills might say. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more.
Hi. Van was my aunt. There are 26 Day cousins, Marilyn Day's nieces and nephews, and Van accepted us all by default. As a child, it was a banner day when Aunt Marilyn and Van were visiting. They were the only grown-ups that seemed to know anything about the really important things in life. Fun. Dogs, a boat, a house in the woods, access to Otterbein's gymnasium where there was a trampoline. As my brother described it, we had our own private Otterbein. They taught us to fish, water ski, ride a tandem bike, and paddle a canoe. Van and Marilyn were the directors at my local Girl Scout camp, and the camp counselors were all Otterbein students. I still, to this day, remember Miss Imedale Cocker from Sierra Leone, Africa. We learned how to make a fire, how to put the fire out, how to fold the flag, how to identify poison ivy, and how to dive without doing a belly flop. We cousins all came to Van for a reality check. I remember how she listened patient to me during those high school years when I hated everything. She was there with just the right words when my father died. She listened and advised when we were between jobs, contemplating a new career, and when life was simply overwhelming. She believed in us absolutely, and I know that we are not alone. Her faith and strength helped all of us through tough times. I came to visit her the weekend before she passed. This time the tables were turned, and it was my time to give back to her, to hold her hand, to be there for her. I told happy stories of memorable times that we shared, an unforgettable visit to the Delaware County Fair, canoeing down the Little Miami River, all of her dogs and cats, a houseboat vacation, the Broadway shows, our Las Vegas adventures, her nephew Gus's movies, traveling to England with a busload of Otterbein alumni, and a cross-country trip with her niece Melinda. She would smile and look me straight in the eye and squeeze my hand. I reminisced about how she gently interrogated and then approved of the man that I finally decided to marry. just 5 years ago. I'm not sure if very many of you know this, but Van was an ordained minister online from the Universal Life Church. It was the perfect idea for her to officiate in our marriage ceremony. On that last Sunday, her response to my wedding story was clear and distinct. She looked at me and said, "Yes, I did." I have often heard comments about speakers at memorial services, how their talk was all about themselves. I hope you know that I'm speaking for all of you whose lives Van touched. I thought I was so lucky because she was my aunt, my family. But as I read all of the comments made on the Otterbein website, I see that Otterbein was her family. If I can borrow some of the words that all of you put so well, Van saw the possibility in impossible. Every conversation with her left you feeling joyful and hopeful. Every interaction helped you believe in yourself a little more and left you feeling empowered. She was principled yet compassionate, stern yet understanding. She lived the meaning of love and saw the best in everyone. Van was a force of nature. And I thought this one was my idea, but somebody said they wanted to wear a little bracelet that said WWVD. What would Van do? On that last Sunday, as I prepared to leave, I told Van that I was not going to say goodbye, that I knew that she would always be there, that I'd just have another guardian angel. Maybe she could take the pressure off my Aunt Marilyn for a while and the others up there who have been taking such good care of me, and it's not a small job. I told her she was not to worry. I assured her that the Otterbein project she had been working on would be completed. I promised her. On that last Sunday, I told her that on the other side there was a brass band and an auditorium filled with family and friends who were waiting to greet her. A comment on the website may have said it best. If the angels weren't dancing when Dean Van came through the gate, I'm sure she's busy showing them how to dance.
Thank you all for joining us today to honor Dean Van. I would like to begin my remarks by recognizing 3 individuals who served Otterbein with Dean Van and have returned today to help us honor her. President Emeritus Tom Kerr, President Emeritus Brent DeVore, and President Rick Dorman, who is joining us today from Westminster College and served Otterbein as Vice President for Institutional Advancement while Dean was here. If you would please stand and be recognized. Thank you for being here today. I have been told by those who knew and loved her best that as a leader, Joanne Van Sant, knew by the multitudes as Dean Van or Van, was a straight shooter who didn't leave you wondering how she felt or what she thought about you or the business at hand. Yes, I knew her, but not as well as all of you. And more to the point, I never had the opportunity to work directly with her. My time with her was short, just a few encounters over the last 3 years. But one of them is an encounter that I will never forget. When I arrived in the summer of 2009, Dean Van didn't wait long to stop by for a visit to my office. She called and said she wanted to meet with me. And I had already learned that when Dean Van summoned, you listened. In my mind, she had already earned the status of a living legend. So I braced myself a bit for the meeting. I expected some probing questions about my character, an assessment of my worthiness as the incoming president of her dear Otterbein. Of course, I was completely wrong. She was charming. She told stories. Probably about some of you here today, but at the time I didn't know you, so not to worry. I don't remember who did what to whom. But we had a great time together. What I remember most about our meeting, though, looking back, was the intensity with which she looked at me as she told me those stories. I could tell that she was working hard to send me a message. I think that message was about her hopes, her expectations for the future of Otterbein, her expectations of what we could achieve in the coming years for the institution she so dearly loved. That intensity was the underlying message conveyed in the stories. It became clear to me that these were not randomly selected stories. Rather, each one demonstrated something about the core values of this institution. She wanted me to know through these examples that Otterbein is a place where people care about each other, where they support one another. It's a place where people enjoy working and being together, where they respect one another. It's a place that changes minds and hearts and dreams, and then does everything it can to make those dreams become a reality. The implicit message to me was, I hope these are the values and qualities that you will work to sustain here. It is those values to which I dedicated my life. So that's what I learned from Dean Van in just one meeting. I can only imagine the impact she must have had on your lives and the lives of all she touched over her years of dedicated service to Otterbein. In my short history with her, Dean Van was never a physical presence on campus, but nonetheless, she is a force, a presence that is known and felt every day through the core values that she represented. Those values live on today at Otterbein, and they will continue to live on as her enduring legacy. Let me cite some examples of the most tangible and obvious ways each and every student who enters Otterbein is touched by her living legacy. My first example, Dean Van was responsible for bringing the Mary B. Thomas gift to Otterbein, one of the most significant and transformational gifts in our history. Through this award, all entering students receive what we know as the Common Book at the beginning of their freshman year. That Common Book is selected by a panel of Otterbein faculty and staff and friends who read dozens of books each year to select the one book that best reflects the values of Otterbein. The Common Book is an integral part of the freshman year seminar required for all of those entering students. And all of us who teach those seminars read the book, reflect on its meaning, and incorporate discussions of it into our class sessions. The author of the book comes to campus, meets with students, delivers lectures, and talks about the meaning and purpose of the book. Each entering class remembers what its Common Book was and how it shaped their first year at Otterbein. And that process will be repeated year after year as a sustained effort to engage all students in explicit discussions of values and purpose from the very day they step foot on our campus. It also provides a bonding experience for the entire freshman class, and it maintains a focus on community and core values as a responsibility for all students at this institution. It is a key element of the induction into the Otterbein community. Somehow, I don't think Mary B. Thomas came up with those ideas about the integration of values into freshman orientation or creating a common bonding experience for our students. Those things sound a lot like Dean Van to me, and they will live on in perpetuity thanks to the Mary B. Thomas Endowment and Dean Van's ingenuity. Another example of Dean Van's living legacy was her commitment to the meaning and significance of leadership. Her leadership creed is included on page 2 of your program. This is a document that she wrote after more than 30 years at Otterbein. She wrote this creed in response to the numerous requests she had to document her thoughts and insights about leadership. She first used it in a presentation to a class of rising student leaders. The creed served as a daily reminder about her expectations of herself and others, of how to live and serve the campus community she loved. And I think I just heard that she wrote it walking from the campus center to another building in the process of going there. Dean Van was a pillar of leadership on our campus. She was the very embodiment of a leader. And again, as we think about how her legacy today lives on, we look to Otterbein's commitment to leadership as one of our 5 cardinal experiences that graduates are expected to fulfill. As we think about Dean Van's legacy, it is challenging to try to come up with any other one person in our entire history who so completely walked the talk of leadership. Was there anyone who better represented the qualities of leadership? She lived this cardinal experience, and because of her actions and her commitment, it is now fully embedded as a part of each student's Otterbein experience. So her legacy lives on today and will continue to live in perpetuity through the Mary B. Thomas Endowment and through the 5 cardinal experiences. I want to close my comments with a meditation on trees. And this may seem like an unusual close to reflection on someone's life, but please bear with me for just a few moments. Prior to today's celebration of life service, we dedicated a tree in Dean Van's memory. It's a beautiful oak tree that will continue to grace the tower's lawn in the many years ahead. But its symbolic significance should not escape us. Let me explain. I don't know how much Dean Van knew about trees themselves, but I suspect she must have known a great deal about the importance of roots. And of course, if I'm going to talk about trees and roots, I have to use last night's storm as an example. What we experienced here at Otterbein was a lesson from Mother Nature. After the storm, as I walked through our neighborhood and around campus, and by the way, our grounds crew was out there cleaning up campus just as soon as the storm cleared, I saw that some trees had actually been completely uprooted. They were cut off right at the ground level. Other trees were heavily damaged. Some of the branches that didn't have sufficient support or weren't fully integrated into the tree's overall structure had been vulnerable to the storm. But some trees survived completely unharmed. As I surveyed the damage across the tower's lawn and looked at our guys out there cleaning it up last evening, my eyes went immediately to Dean Van's newly planted tree and found that it had successfully weathered its very first storm. There's a lesson in all of this that Dean Van knew very well. The only way to sustain an initiative is to build it into the very core of the institution. Like the root system of a healthy tree, its very foundation, its roots, are deeply embedded beneath the ground, beneath that tree, to support it as it grows and flourishes. No tree can survive Mother Nature's tests unless it has built such a strong and deep root system. Otherwise, it is vulnerable, it is transient, and it will not endure. The beauty of what Dean Van created here was her focus on embeddedness. The core values to which she committed were built from the very ground up. She didn't simply pronounce initiatives, she built them. She lived the values she espoused, and she invested the time to build the necessary support structures, that deep and strong root system that would nurture them, sustain them, and enrich them over time. Looking back, she didn't need to worry when she met with me 3 years ago that we would falter, that we would somehow abandon those core values that she had worked so hard to build and protect. They are indeed alive and well at Otterbein today, just as Dean Van's presence will forever endure. Thank you, Dean, for your courage. Thank you for helping us, for leading so many, and for setting the bar so high for all of us. And thank you for daring to make time for so many important tasks that continue to define Otterbein today. Every one of us, every one of the students you mentored, challenged, and inspired, and your beloved Otterbein are better for it. We thank you.
I arrived yesterday, and this weekend, this time, this gathering, yesterday and today, whoever I ran into had Van stories, life-changing, powerful, faith-building stories. And I was reminded again how Dean Van kept us on our paths of living authentically and being true to what calls to us and true to one another and what we believe in. When I came to Otterbein, I was, as many of us were, so green. She understood how one word, one meeting in her office, or one belief in the look she gave me could make a difference in my life. She knew how easy it was for us to get caught up in should haves, could haves, I ought to be. And what made her different in my witnessing of her and through other stories is how she lived in the now, not just hers, but ours. As I watched the slide presentation you're about to see, it seemed that I was getting to know her in a different way, and I thought about how she must have begun each day with, what does this day hold for me? What calls to me? What inspires me today? Who's on my mind today? And she reminds me that we do actually have the potential to ask ourselves these questions instead of clinging to fear, self-doubt, and getting absorbed in the negatives that will always present themselves. Her unfailing belief in my talent and my worth as a person reflected back to me the possibilities. And how if you really use your imagination, vision, courage, and dedication, even if the outcome is different than expected, you can create options that you had never thought of, dreamt of, or thought possible. When I opened my heart to writing the music in honor of her today, I realized it could swing from a Dixieland style to Beethoven's Fifth style. However, I chose to stay with her elegant poise, consistency of heart, and forthright determination. And I would not have written this music or written the abundance of music that I have written through the years if she had not stepped up for me and created avenues and venues for me to be myself as a songwriter and in my life. I would like Mark Peters, who gathered the photographs and put this presentation together, which has been inspiring me to write this music about Van, and for all of us to stand. And now let's travel together as she wished that we would in the music about Van.